This is to be our new office, yes? Our office? I really like the sound of that. Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it? I hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I'd like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Mr. Sholmes, yes, thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it. Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you. I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives. We have a lot to celebrate. Iris, you must let me help you. Alright then, Susie. You can be in charge of the salad. Splendid. So, Mr. Naruhodo, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital? It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us. Those are precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry? London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights casts the darkest of shadows. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So, once again, Mr. Naruhodo, welcome to London. Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes so casually spoke, but it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. So, it turns out I was wrong. It was not the actor guy. The actor guy did not appear ever again in that episode. My guess was on the assumption that eventually we would actually have a multi-part trial like you do in the mainline in Ace Attorney. But we still haven't had that, and it might be that we'll never get that. And so because that was the last part, well, I guess the best guess if I would have known that would have been that the perpetrator was Mrs. Garadeb. But, that's such a... I was assuming there'd be multiple parts. Okay. Such a lame result. This game has, for the first... So, in this one, it was an accident, right? And this one, it was an accident, and the victim didn't actually die. It seems like this is the first couple times that I remember in any Ace Attorney where the murder was actually an accident and the perpetrator did not intend to commit the murder. The reason why I say as I remember is that there might have been one, it's just I forgot about it. Maybe the one where Trucy's father shoots Trucy's mother. That might have been an accident. I forgot what was surrounding that. And then this is the first time I remember where the victim didn't actually die. So that's unprecedented as well. It also comes across as kind of lame because you don't get to pin it on this bad guy at the end. You don't get that feeling. And instead, you're just kind of pinning it on someone who accidentally did something that caused somebody to die. So this doesn't have that, like, you don't get that epic breakdown of, like, the bad guy suddenly becoming bad or showing their true colors. You don't get that, like, that rush at the end, right? Instead, just like, oh, phooey, I goofed. And you figured it out that I goofed. And then the perpetrator is discovering that they did it. In this case, the perpetrator, the person who did it, discovered that they did it at the same time that Naruhodo did. Although she had some inkling that she might have been the one to do it, just because she was trying to hide something. But she was trying to hide something anyway because she wouldn't want to blab to the world that she got in a fight with her husband, which is more like she just got mad at her husband and was throwing things at him. So, anyway, I was wrong. I messed up. I had an intellectual blunder. I have to eat it. Let's go on to the next one I can mess up. I will say, though, I did much better as far as the performance on selecting evidence on that one. I didn't get game overs like this episode 3. Like, I actually got through episode 4 without save scumming or getting game overs. Okay. The sound of the Baskervilles. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Okay.
It's coming! Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited, breathlessly, in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles."
I'm assuming those things are like the episodes of Sherlock Holmes that inspired each chapter of the Greatest Attorney Chronicles, if I were to guess. They're like actual like quotes from the original Sherlock Holmes. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. Not 100% sure, though. In that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country, and in Soseki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. Naruhodo's legal consultancy. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san. Yes? Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see, what case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh no, of course not, how silly of me. I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? Yes. Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Let me see, what case is it today? Here we go again. Yeah, before anything, you gotta get this. Can't select the ladder. I investigated thoroughly, but I can't find anything out of place. Okay. That spade has been here since we started renting the place. Oh, that's not a spade, Naruhodo-san. It's a shovel. No shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel. I don't want to dig a hole for myself, so let's leave it. Is that a some sort of joke on calling a spade a spade? So this is the tea set that Susato-san brought with her from Japan. Let's hope she hasn't noticed me slipping sugar and milk into my cup when she makes it. It's just so bitter. Tea is a drink to be enjoyed, Naruhodo-san. You really don't have to force yourself to drink it, you know. I don't like to see you screw up your face, though. It's spring at last, and the weather is warmer now. But I love the smell of the fire and the steam rising from the kettle. Ale's not good for you. Oh, would you like some tea, Naruhodo-san? Thank you, Susato-san, but I'm alright for now. With the green tea Susato-san makes me from time to time, and Iris' unique herbal infusions. This place is paradise of a true tea lover. Green tea is such a wonderful accompaniment to British tea cakes, don't you think? I've only been here in London for about 2 months, but my desk is starting to look a little messy already. You could tidy up once in a while. Susato-san, I always say, making a mess is a small sacrifice to pay for being able to further your studies. And time spent tidying up is a time you can't devote to the same cause. And time spent on ridiculous arguments is time that could be better spent on some simple housework. She wins, but I'm supposed to be the lawyer here. Well, he's also right. Ah, the Daruma doll I brought with me from home. Still with only one eye colored in. I said I colored the other eye once I won my first court case here in Britain, but you have won, haven't you? Twice, in fact. Because I feel as though I'm still lacking as a lawyer. I tell you what, why don't you color the other eye in once you think I'm a proper, fully fledged lawyer? If you insist. Pan over before I hit that. Oh, this must be the telegram. Let's see. Ah! No, you mustn't look at that. Not under any circumstances. Alright, I won't. I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san, but you can be very mischievous at times. And put the telegram away if you don't want people looking at it. We were rather lucky to find that old aquarium left behind here. The prawns we put in there are doing rather well, and the anemones too. It's a wonderful invention, isn't it? The sea behind glass inside your room. Another example of Great Britain's greatness. Having to clean it out and change the water isn't so great though, is it? Okay. Investigating the door. Do you know I've never seen inside your room there, Susato-san? I never even peeped inside. I shouldn't think so too. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. Whatever you say, young maiden. Okay. Means a great deal to me, you know, that you cherish this armband so and wear it each time you appear in court. Well, it's very important to me. It's what shows that I'm a lawyer. And whenever I wear it, I feel as though it gives me strength. Through Kazuma. I absolutely can't be without it, especially when I'm in a critical point in a trial. But just the other day, I noticed you were wearing it when we went to visit that park. Sometimes I forget to take it off. Okay, converse. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Oh, a telegram? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. Well, I didn't think I would. Throw him. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing. Nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. Ahem. It was just a boring old telegram. That's 3 times now. She's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. Alright, I understand. I suppose Soseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which would mean he should have completed the voyage already, or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him. Do you remember, complaining of seasickness? But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? I was just wondering, what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all. You mean, as regards to Lord Van Zykes, the Reaper? Yes, I can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? Like the way that nightmarish trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. Even 2 months on, the cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery. Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps? Even if that's the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. No, I don't think so. Apparently Lord Van Zykes hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. Oh. Yes, since Soseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from your judicial service again, it seems. Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So it's just been me who's had to face him in his recent spate of trials then. Oh, just my luck. It's not luck. It's called plot. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. Sorry, what was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Okay. Only thing left to do is move. Foam Suite. Take care of some reps. Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Good morning, Iris. What's with this background music? Iris? What is it, Runo? Oh, what is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. Ah, yes, you noticed that, did you? Hurley isn't in the best form this morning, it seems. Mr. Sholmes? Good morning. Going to die, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before. Humph. My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Damn this blanked existence. That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Look, it's Wagahai. Good morning, boy. It's like only Wagahai is voice acted. That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. It would indeed be a fine day to die. I knew something looked different. Something's missing from Mr. Sholmes' desk. Look at Mr. Sholmes' desk, it's completely clear. Isn't that enormous machine usually on it? We can never hope to understand what goes on in the great detective's mind, Mr. Naruhodo. Why, next time we're invited, we may find he's vacated the entire suite. That's scarily plausible, actually. There's all sorts of these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment. Oh, it's such a charmingly untidy collection of paraphernalia, isn't it? It looks messy to me, like my desk. But you, Mr. Naruhodo, must learn to tidy up after yourself. No favoritism here, then. Looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. It seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous. How did you come to that conclusion? Fire is burning comfortingly in the grate again today. It is a very different feeling to a Japanese hibaki somehow. Oh, look at that photographic print of a lady displayed on the mantelplate. Could it be? Yes, it must be. It's the woman. Oh, how exciting. Is that supposed to mean something to me? Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled in his new home then. Oh yes, and I've become very attached to little Waggy. It would appear his previous owner is completely forgotten to him. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their mews are empty at the hearts of the mooses. If Mr. Natsume had no intention of taking Waggy back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expect he would have taken him if he could, but pets are strictly forbidden aboard steamships in our experience. And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage were not obeyed. Like Kazuma dies. Oh well, I don't mind, because Waggy is adorable. They should have, like, had a Shiba Inu instead of, like, a cat, but whatever. They want a pet brought in from Japan. Yes, he really is. Oh yes, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from? Oh, you noticed? You're observant, Runo. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flapomat. Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That's right, it can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. And it can do it in any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap? It's called generalizing your problem. Therefore, she wants to make more cat flaps. It's quicker then, you know? Well, yes, maybe, but now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris. It's like at work. Whenever I have to do something, I now know that I should make a script to do it, just so that if I need to do it again, it's much easier. Anyway. She really knows how to come up with this unconventional inventions. With unconventional inventions, this girl. Hehe. Wait, she's not cleared? Okay. That makes it harder. These are all mementos of Mr. Sholm's past cases, I think. If he'd been involved in my case, I wonder if the beefsteak from La Carnival would be on display here. A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a busted Napoleon. Ah, what interesting collection. It looks like an untidy assortment of junk to me, rather than what's on my own shelves. Well, you really ought to learn to keep your things in order, Mr. Naruhodo. No favoritism there at all. Iris's beautiful tea set is there on the table as usual. A cup of one of her special herbal blends always helps me relax when I'm feeling the strain. The English pastime of tea has many similarities with our own tea ceremony customs, don't you think? It's the idea of hospitality behind it. That's the essence of tea. I thought the essence of tea was caffeine. Or heat engines. This is where Iris notes down ideas, isn't it? Let's see, what does it say today? Ah. The Boscombe Valley Mystery. Oh, how intriguing. It must be the title of Iris's latest work. Oh my. I wonder what fascinating tale awaits us. Susato-san looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most unsavory crime you could imagine. That's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles, too. But the contents of them aren't quite so charming, it seems. Science is the future, Mr. Naruhodo, you can't deny it. I'm saving my money so I can buy some chemistry apparatus as well. Law, chemistry, takedown throws. What diverse skills you boast, Miss Susato. As usual as they are. As useful as they are, I'm not sure that my throwing skills are worthy of inclusion in that list. Come to think of it, I haven't seen Iris doing much writing recently. But there's paper already set in the typewriter, look, and as if she's about to start. That reminds me, when I mentioned that Iris was in the process of writing a full-fledged novel, Mr. Natsume was most impressed. Yes, Mr. Natsume. That's what I'll be doing too once I'm back in Japan, he said through his tightly clenched fists and teeth. Okay, I think that finishes that. You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What happened? It used to be the case that in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its melisonant tones would make flowers bloom. It would. But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever you mean, Mr. Sholmes. For hours I have bowed, for days even. Through the night I have endeavored, to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone. Gone forever. No more recitals of unbridled emotion. Just put more rosin on your bow. Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? You don't have, what's it called? Atrophy that fast on musical instruments. Don't worry, I'm sure it will come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruhodo. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man. The next, they give him syphilis. Oh dear. Oh, why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left? For pity's sake, what is left? Deduction perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but... Your desk looks rather empty today. Oh, well done, Miss Susato. Your observational skills do you credit. Oh no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale into insignificance when compared to yours. You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? You mean Hurley's great analytoscope? That's at Windibanks now. Sorry, it's at a windy bank? No, Windibanks, the pawnbrokers, the pawnbrokery. What? You mean you've pawned that enormous machine of yours? It has some considerable value, you see, quite undeservingly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed the little income I have to you. Dear Madame, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker was your wonderful... The pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can that be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbroker is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is? It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works. What to understand exactly? What do you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how brokering works? Pawnbroking. To the people of London, pawnbrokeries are akin to banks. Banks? On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in inner London. And should they have no money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn. Should the need arise. Genius. It's got investing. So whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at window banks, you see. A pawnbrokery can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain? Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. What is that? I got high? What was that? Oh no. That guy's tangled up in your violin. He thinks it's a toy. No, what's he doing to it? Oh dear, Mr. Chom's precious violin. Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. If the cat is a more accomplished musician than I now. Well, they have a lot of value in them anyway. Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? It's like, what if it's a Ganari? Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives, shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach, if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. Okay. Mr. Sholmes, could I ask you for your opinion about this? You lure me to raise my languid head with the promise of some mental exaltation. Yet in my morbid depression, I am confronted with the most mundane of problems. Oh. My mind finds greater stimulation in the unforgiving monotony of the floor than in your miserable offering. Always glad to help. Oh, my head weighs heavy on my shoulders. Can it really be that we've been to Great Britain for 2 months already? Yes, it's gone by in a flash, hasn't it? And what an English gentleman you trailed off there, Susato-san. I'm sorry, when I thought it through, I realized it's not at all true, actually. I simply don't feel that any Britishness has really rubbed off onto you. Nor you, to be honest. Well, that's obviously because... Yes, I know, without a doubt, it's your kimono. It most certainly stands out. I do adore the attire of English ladies, it's quite delightful, but somehow I just don't feel ready to abandon my Japanese dress just yet. I wonder how Susato-san would look in Western clothes. That would be interesting to see. Great. I guess you're supposed to find the violin. Oh, there we go. Ah, yes, letters V and R inscribed on the wall in bullet holes. Isn't it the initials of the Queen or something? And it's so delightful to see it in the flesh, having read about it in the stories. It's so inspiring. I've fired 100 arrows into my own wall at home to make the characters for Su of Susato, you know? Su, her. Perhaps there are some things the great detective does that you don't need to copy. Oh, there we go. So this is the violin, is it? It's a Stradivarius. One of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari. I see. It doesn't really look like anything special to me. Well, Stradivari's are really old, so they would look old. They tend to, like, if you were to actually get loaned one, it wouldn't look that bad because a lot of them have been a lot of work put in, but whatever. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until today, it has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I have made. I ask you if there is reason to live in a world devoid of music, to tolerate this blanched existence. No. There is none. Mr. Sholmes. What, dear madame, what? My thoughts are preoccupied with fantasies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think? What do you mean, Miss Susato? Oh, Susie's right. Yes, the tone of the wood is completely different. And that's not all. I'm sure it had no crack here before. Wait, it's not even the right size, is it? What's this? Oh, the violin is just completely different. I'm terribly sorry to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. It's a viola. Then what's... I believe it's an entirely different instrument, called a viola. Ha! What? Let's have cracks. What? Mr. Sholmes, are you alright? You're right. You are quite right. This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? It's not your faithful performing partner, then. I see what must have happened. You do, Iris. Someone stole a violin. This is just a simple mix-up. Sounds like Iris might be able to tell exactly what's happened if we ask her. What did you mean by a mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this viola, I mean, was at Windabank's until last week. At the pawnbroker's? Not Mr. Schultz's beloved musical partner? There is a proverb from East with which you no doubt familiar, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Yes, indeed. So you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hope that you would experience personal growth? Oh, what a wonderful idea. Last week I pawned my great analytoscope in order to release my precious instrument. But it would appear Mr. Windabank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your very sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. A fine state of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruhodo, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fiddle you every time. But earlier you told us that you could think of a pawnbroker as an extremely secure vault. Come on, Naruhodo. Daily-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that vacant aspect. Pressing your coffee so obtusely. Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency with which we are faced? We must visit Mr. Windabank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes? Precisely, Mr. Sato. Without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect, to fresh your egg ever more abstrusely. Alright, I say no more, let's go then. Don't worry, Bruno, I'll be happy to heat it up for you again later. Oh, thank you, Iris. As it happens, I am rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker's looks like. Okay, fine. I guess we gotta move. Go to the wrong place. Look at all the different things in the window of the things in the window of the shop. Ah, that's Windabank's, the pawnbrokery. It looks much smarter than a pawnbroker's in Japan, doesn't it? Yes, you're right. I find pawn shops at home rather unapproachable, personally. It reminds me of tearfully parting with my favorite fountain pen. I felt so miserable. What doesn't kill you makes us stronger, Mr. Naruhodo. It's already been 2 months since we started taking lodgings here above Mr. Sholmes' office. I still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. Oh, I know. To actually be sharing accommodations with the world's greatest detective. I ever find myself before a court of law now, I will have not one regret. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'd be happy to defend you, of course. Okay, I guess that's it. This is a British pawnbrokery. Oh my, there's all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before. Ah, Susato-san, and what spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging by the spark of fury in his eyes. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, sir, welcome back. Did you hear that praise and welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Windabank of our ire. Come, the fight is afoot. Mr. Windabank, about this. Let me see. I'll give you tuppence for it. No, I don't want to pawn it. What are you doing, my dear fellows? We're not here to browse for interesting curios. We have come to teach this broker a lesson. Oh, but there are just so many fascinating items. It looks as though we'll have to talk to Mr. Windabank first before we can explore in here, Mr. Sato. Checks everything. I wonder, could I ask you something? Oh, a gentleman from the east, I see. Yes, that stable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry? Aha, but for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 Guinness, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic. Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 Guinness, you say? How interesting. Why, I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here. Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokers are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you described. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan of 2 months to secure stowage. If in that time they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned. But what happens if they don't pay you the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop. As you can see on the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed then? That's right, ma'am, that's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should that customer precious belongings be lost, the only recompense for me is to end it all. The very idea, Mr. Windabank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually. Says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. And let's not forget what I have already helped you take that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. What sort of measures? I engineered a simple device, which Mr. Windabank has installed here in this shop. I call it the red-handed recorder. Is that so, Mr. Windibank? Huh. That was a deep sigh. What was that deep sigh about? What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. It's just a red recorder. Like the instrument. There are two just below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera, furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. And every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Ah yes, a print from the camera set to record the activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of film, so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in darkness. Really? That's extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look. So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed. But, just you gotta be inside the 30-minute window, that's all. But did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madame. Then what if the incident were to occur in between the times? Oh, one would only say, that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess, your devices have been giving me some causes for distress of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Windibank. Surely they are not anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not one, but 2 cameras in my shop, after all, which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbroker, you know? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us. Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes. This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windibank. The color of the wood is different, it has holes in it, it is not even the same size. Oh, a wonderful summary of your observations, Mr. Sholmes. So sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me, and an inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There's only one way to make amends. I shall have to take my own life. I don't think that will be necessary, do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Yes. It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry? As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, "Ah, here it is." You did? And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the viola and left, sir. However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies finally on my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, stop, my dear fellow. The fault is mine. Phew. It would appear that the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windibank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Hairlock Sholmes without that questionable disposition now, would you? I do believe you may be right, sir. It's either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needed to remind you of the peculiar collection of items you've brought to my door in the past. Oh, peculiar items? In the extreme, madame, for example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the novels of Sherlock Holmes or some such. Oh my, a new fully fledged novel. And unpublished, the story I've yet to read, you mean? Ah, forgive me. Wait, before you die, you must tell me more. I must know more. Tell me everything. Wow, Sasatu-san is really fired up now. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see. If you'd like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windibank. For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir. Not a farthing more. It houses something of great value indeed. The latest manuscript, recounting the adventures of one Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be quite safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Of course, sir, of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you, on my life. This is all very strange. Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Windibank. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop, huh? Because if anything were to happen to one of them, it would be the only answer. I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry. I've only loaded a single bullet. No one but myself could possibly be harmed. That's not really what I meant. Good day to you, then, Mr. Windibank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Naruhodo. Now we can explore at last. Look at that enormous ledger upon the counter there. Mr. Windibank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself into all sorts of trouble. Which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. This revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow. I assure you, Mr. Windibank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he'd blow his brains out? Indeed, in recompense for his blunder. Oh, oh my. But in any case, of course he would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it? Doesn't it make more sense to blow out the person who's stealing his brains? There seems to be a little door hidden behind that curtain there. That leads to the storage room, where Mr. Windibank keeps articles that are currently in pawn. Ah, I see. There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Wouldn't recommend or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Windibank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Before he sleeps, he places it in a small pot, which he slides under his pillow. How on earth do you know that, Mr. Sholmes? I am a detective, sir. It is my business to know what others do not. I am frequently assailed by information that I neither care for nor wish to retain. Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder, and the prime suspect if this pawnbrokery is ever burgled. Look at this, what could this lovely, big, shiny box be? That, my dear madame, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country. Oh my, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Hopefully this isn't copyrighted. Ah, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is the largest variety commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There is a metal disc inside in which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. My goodness, what a simply delightful machine. Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. What a assortment of things that were on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine. Those are forfeited items offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially pop, an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, it is free to display in a shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now you've explained it. I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform? Never. It embodies my student spirit. What do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you are looking at is a stereoscope. A stereoscope? Fascinating. It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and you see for yourself. Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically as it were, you will need to be cross-eyed. However, if that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, you must see. At once. Oh, alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. Okay. Let me try to do this. What the? Well, before I cross my eyes... Okay. This is taking a long time. It's like, when I cross my eyes, it like defocuses it, so it gets blurry. So I can't quite do it. I don't believe it. Just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. Yes, the sense of depth is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They're often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? It's not magic, my dear madame. It's, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. Oh. That picture's gonna be important. Look at this. Whatever could it be used for? I have no idea. Ah. There's a small catch just here, look. We're going to open it, aren't we? Oh my, it's amazing. It's some sort of spring-loaded mechanism. Oh no. Which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. Oh, what are you two doing? What, us? Nothing? No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. I feel as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? 15th of April, today's date. Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It's an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date. Why are you doing up at midnight? What are you doing up at midnight? The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Windibank. And who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin before? Well, when the agreed storage period is passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Ah yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. What? Only tuppence for it. That ain't fair, and you know it. The article is barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. Sounds like there's an argument brewing over by the counter. Come on, that can't be right. And even at a proper butcher's at all? Butcher's at it? Oh, it's Gina. I've seen all I need to see, young girl. Hey, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Oh yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGilden's trial 2 months ago. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. Gordon Bennett, you lot. Hello, Mr. Lestrade. I hope you've been well. Miss... what, you remember me then, do you? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure. So what are you doing here? Down and out like the rest of us? Nothing to eat? Come to pop that black weasel, sorry coat, have you? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Good day, unless I'm much mistaken. You would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Mr. Sholmes. So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article, and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windibank on your behalf. Pull the other one. I don't need help from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business. Go on. I'll make trouble for you. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I'm happily remove myself from your presence. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here. What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? And you, go on. Leave me alone. Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest. Susato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. Whatever. Look at Mr. Winterbank, watching diligently over his shop. There's still so many things I'm curious about. I don't believe this is the time for browsing, Mr. Naruhodo. We should probably see whatever the argument's been resolved yet, I suppose. Oh. He's been in before, of course, this little tatterdemalion. I see. I brought some dubious article or other with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me. So, is there something dubious about the disc she brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry, what do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. Ah, a storage ticket, so... Miss Lestrade had actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what needs storing. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight. But as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest, I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Winterbank. The little scrap was wearing it, ma'am. It's the overcoat that she redeemed. Oh. Well, what's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So, what about the disc then? How does that come into all this? Ah, the disc is something else. A new article to pawn if the girl and I agree to a price. Mr. Winterbank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It seems to have hundreds of little tiny bumps on its surface. Ah, this is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box? What, you don't even know what a music box is? Tch, you Eastern lot ain't too savvy yet. I know what a music box is, I've just never seen one of these discs before. The small protrusions on the metal disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going. Beautiful music plays. It's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on this disc? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music box, you see. British made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for. Oh, I see. And that's it in a nutshell. Wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny. That's a packet of lies, he told me it did. He said it was, well... He? Who? Never you mind, it just ain't right, that's all. It is worth good money, I know it is. Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? Ah. I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say. For that heavy black coat, which you returned to her care, as I understand it. That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as the little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What, don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? Ah, I see. So it came from the pockets of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it. For quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up, I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Miss Lestrade, may I ask you who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me, old man. It's me, old man. Ain't it? Is it, Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please. Here's the picture postcard English gentleman. Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. What's your problem, eh? There is no problem as long as you remove yourself. I have matter to discuss with the proprietor. But is she not wearing your overcoat? And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Look, ain't it obvious? I ain't done talking with them yet. If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Oh, you are an imprudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Eh? Who are you, and who do you know who I am? The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy even to remember the faces of your victims, it seems. What, you mean I from you? Broker! Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pickpocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, sir. The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my. That's a lie. Won't you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs too. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's my old man's. Or it was, now it's mine. Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes? I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. I'll do that next time I record, I think. We're gonna solve this thing. Because it might not be, like, super obvious. It might actually be Miss Lestrade's. Despite her being a pickpocket.